BBC Wiltshire afternoon show on a Friday afternoon, 12 minutes to 3. So help with a geography clue. I think that's going to help you with our Where in Wiltshire shortly. But before that, what do you know about gibbons? Well, they're endangered. They can reach speeds of up to 35 miles an hour while swinging through the trees. Oh, and of course, they are funky.
Come on, everybody, it's gibbon time!
Yes, with the number of gibbons in the wild plummeting in recent years, Bill Oddie and the Goodies have released a 2010 version of the Funky Gibbon, and all the proceeds going to the Save the Gibbon campaign. So how do you go about redoing what is frankly a pop classic? There is only one man to hear from. That is, of course, from the Goodies himself. It's Bill Oddie. Hello. Now, Bill, where on earth did you get the idea then of redoing the song?
Well, actually, it came from a wonderful organisation called IPPO, which is the International Primate Preservation League. They're worldwide, and basically they are a body that advises and raises money, etc., for primates. Now, that includes, obviously, the ones everybody knows, you know, gorillas, orangutans, and chimps are the three great apes that everybody knows. Everybody knows have problems and so on and so forth, and by and large get the most profile, the highest profile. Gibbons, I suspect, have been somewhat relegated, partially because some flipping Victorian scientists decided they weren't great apes, they were lesser apes. And if you've ever seen a gibbon, it's definitely great. It doesn't deserve to be called lesser in any way. But also, I'm afraid, you know, I felt a certain pang of guilt that I'd trivialised their image as well with that song. And I think there's some truth in that. You know, when people see animals in a context which is sort of unreal, you know, like they're cartoon animals or in a song, there is a danger of thinking, yeah, but they really exist, you know, and forgetting that. And gibbons, in fact, are incredibly endangered. Amongst them, there's about 16 different species, and a couple of those species are certainly the most endangered primates in the world, and amongst the most endangered animals of any kind. You know, they're down to about 20. Something. I think it's the Hainan gibbons are down to about 20 in the wild.
How does this version then of the Funky Gibbon vary? Have you got some real sounds of gibbons on this one?
The main addition, what was lacking in the first one was any authenticity. Indeed, it was inaccurate, I have to confess at this point, simply to get because it inevitably rhymes, funky and monkey came into it. It's not a monkey, and also some real gibbon noises. You can hear them mixed in pretty well. They out-sing us by a long way.
Now, some people might not realise that the original was a huge hit. Was it number 4 or something in the charts?
Yeah, it was 1976, I think, and, you know, we as the Goodies in those days, we had suddenly turned into a rock group, you know, and we had about 5 top 20 records, and Funky Gibbon's the best known one. It wasn't actually the highest, I think, or the biggest seller. I think the very first one, the In-Betweeners, got a silver disc or something like that, whatever you get. Get that for selling 2 records nowadays.
I think you do. That many? Did you enjoy your time then doing those appearances like on Top of the Pops?
Oh, of course. It was fantastic. From all sorts of points of view. I mean, the main thing was that we weren't taking it seriously, whereas you had bands and managers standing in the wings with pistols cocked ready to shoot themselves if they'd gone down and they weren't on, you know. Because it was as strict as that. They waited for the charts to come in the day before, I think it was Wednesday, and if the record had gone down, they were off. You know, they'd be told, you're doing top... Oh, no, you're not. And being in that atmosphere and not caring about that side of it, but also, you know, getting to meet some of the bands briefly, and of course Pan's people were in their heyday, and I was particularly friendly in all sorts of ways with Flick Colby, who used to choreograph them, and she was a good friend actually. We had, you know, yeah, it was lovely.
I guess the one question I'm going to ask you, Bill, the Goodies, why do we never see the Goodies repeated on TV? I know you know that's what I'm going to ask you, but we never see it on TV. Why is that?
We don't know. We've been talking about that for a couple of days, actually, because the Goodies, I might as well get a plug in here for this, because there's a new DVD box set with about sort of 6 DVDs in that, and a lot of programmes. That adds up to quite a lot of them, with some new ones that have never been available before. And so we've been asked that quite a bit, actually, and we haven't got a sensible answer. We haven't got a truthful answer. We got a very worrying response from the head of comedy development or something like that, and somebody had written to Points of View asking that question, and got back a really snooty letter saying, we're the BBC, you know, believe in promoting good comedy, as if we weren't, you know, and we want, we believe in it being current and modern, not nostalgia. So much for Last of Summer Wine then. And the best one, the final line was, in addition, we might well point out that the Goodies, in fact, did their last series for ITV, for London Weekend Television. And he thought, I'm sorry, you haven't been holding a grudge for 40 years, have you? And it's the only clue we've ever had. We think maybe that's it. You know, if you go to ITV, you're up on the wall at TV Centre and say, never ever will the Goodies be repeated on BBC.
Well, it's been a pleasure to speak to you, Bill Oddie. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much, love.
He promised to buy me a bunch of blue gibbons to tie up my Bonnie Brown.
Funky Gibbon.
That's the original version. If you want to download the new version, it's www.savethegibbon.org.